Hello, today I'm going to show you how to play bar chords without your hand hurting. Something that I spent the best part of 35 years not knowing. I did this research last year and there was no single source that actually gave me all the answers I needed. It was quite a bit of a trawl, so hopefully I can collect all of that information together for you and show it you in one video. And the first thing that we're going to do is basically like put the guitar to one side for the moment because we don't need it for lesson number one. And lesson number one is all about your arm. So it wants to be as relaxed as possible all the way from the shoulder, you know, give it a bit of a shake, get it really, really relaxed. And then bring it up to about 90 degrees, just past 90 degrees. And then wherever that hand is, put the guitar in it. Now I play a couple of centimetres high, but that's fine. You know, there's an ideal that's a tiny little bit lower than this, but my guitar strap just happens to be at this height, and I'm fine, I'm perfectly comfortable with this. And actually, a few months ago, I used to play high. I've just dropped it to this height now, and it's much, much better. So play as low as you can. So we've brought our hand up, and we've found the guitar, and my elbow is against my body. That's going to be really important. You'll see that shortly. I'm going to move the guitar back out of the way again, and keeping my elbow into the side of my body, I'm just going to move my arm as if I was travelling down the fretboard. And can you see that as I do so, I make an angle? It's about 20 to 30 degrees. Your body will naturally make an angle. It's really hard to keep it parallel to the ground. It naturally travels up. And so the angle that you want your guitar to be in is that. It's as simple as that, just so that at every position your hand is as relaxed as possible. Now you can see that I've got pretty short arms, I'm not very tall, and I've got tiny hands. And so by the time I get to about G, I can't keep my elbow next to my body anymore. It has to move away slightly. So be it. You know, don't twist yourself into contortions. These are all just ideals. So keep your elbow as close to your body as you can until it has to travel naturally away. There's nothing much you can do about it. But the principle is to keep it as close as you possibly can. And I'll show you why. So I'm going to fret this fret here. And I'm going to have my finger parallel with the frets. Okay. Elbow nice and close into the body. Now watch what happens. I'm going to take all of the tension off the fingers. Watch what happens when my elbow moves away from the body. It's just simple physics. If I keep everything relaxed and move my elbow away, I'm making the wrong angle with my fingers. Now I'm crossing the frets at an angle, at a diagonal. And so that's the principle behind why you want to keep your elbow close to your body. It helps your finger stay parallel with all the frets. And as I say, by the time I get to F, I have made a bit of an angle. It's okay, it's not the end of the world. The ideal is to be parallel, and a little bit of an angle is acceptable, particularly on the biggest frets. You've got a little bit more to play with. Okay, doing good so far. So we've got our arm position completely sorted, and the neck is sat in this totally relaxed position. So now let's start having a look at how we're actually going to press frets. So I'm going to concentrate on A, and ultimately the goal is to play an A major. That's what we'll do in a few more steps time. So step 1, index finger, parallel onto the frets. Now at the moment it's smack in the middle of the frets. Let's leave it there for the moment and press all 6 strings down. I'm just going to do it, you know, without really thinking about it. Okay, so I can make all 6 strings sound. Now can you see, I don't know if you can see the colour of my index finger. It's white. I'm having to press really hard. And the reason for that is because that's so fleshy. My finger is so fleshy, and there are 2 big bridges where my knuckles are that strings like to sit in. And the whole thing is an absolute nightmare. Playing strings with the fleshy part of your finger is pointless and painful. Don't do it. The problem with playing with the side of your finger is that you've got this colossal knuckle, which is also a total nightmare. Not only is that really bony, and it's quite painful when you press into a cheese wire string. But you've also got valleys on both sides. You can't use the edge of your finger and you can't use the flat part of your finger. But there's a sweet spot just past your fleshy bit where you've avoided the valley of your knuckles and you've avoided all this fat fleshy stuff. There's a beautiful sweet spot which is really flat and really consistent. Use that. So instead of putting your finger flat down onto the fret, just roll it slightly, and I do mean slightly, maybe 20 degrees, I don't know, just until you feel all 6 strings come into comfortable contact with your fingers. Now let's play that. My finger is still slightly white, but it's less white than it was. In other words, there's less pressure being applied. Now there's still multiple problems with this, there's all sorts of stuff wrong that we're going to fix. One of the things that's wrong is that I'm pressing with my thumb, basically clamping the strings between my finger and my thumb, and that creates massive tension here. This is where I used to have the majority of my problem. I would get an egg, literally a visible egg on my hand where this, whatever it is, I don't know, tendon, muscle, whatever, just was under horrific strain. But you don't need to use your thumb at all, really. It's going to sit there, it's going to do something, but really what you're actually going to do is pull with your arms. You're going to try to bend the guitar in half with your arms. Your thumb's got nothing to do with it, and your fingers are just coming along for the ride. So instead of using my thumb to clamp, I'm going to press both sides of the guitar. I'm going to pull with my left arm, and I'm going to push with my right forearm, and I'm virtually just bending the guitar in half, and my finger just gets pressed into the frets. So it makes all 6 strings sound, and now the very tip of my finger is still white, but that's only because it's basically being squashed by my arm, but it's not under tension. My hand isn't under tension at all. If I show you around the back, this thumb is super relaxed. I really don't need it. It's there for support and it's fine. And I'm not saying don't use your thumb at all, but it's not a principal player. It's just coming along for the ride. Okay, next thing that we want to do is we don't want to press in the middle of the fret. This is a long way to have to press down to generate enough tension to make the top of the string, the top of the fret, come in contact with the string. If you try to press just behind the fret, in fact you can actually press on top of the fret itself. The flat part of the fret belongs to you. Anything past the flat part of the fret doesn't. You cannot go past the flat. That's going to damp the string that you're playing because it's trying to vibrate and you're stopping it from vibrating. But the fret itself is absolutely fine. So instead of pressing in the middle of the fret, we're going to come up to the point where no part of any of my finger is over a fret, but it's really close. And now it's unbelievably easy to make that chord. I'm pulling with my arm, pushing with my forearm, the finger's in the right place, the thumb's basically an anchor and not doing anything else. And playing all of those strings is incredibly easy. Now then, my hand is still under a little bit of tension, it's still a little bit painful, because these fingers, which are sticking in the middle of nowhere, kind of don't want to be. They want to be joining my index finger. And fortunately I want to play a chord, so that's absolutely fine. Keep everything as relaxed as you can. Let the fingers just flop down onto the guitar. Now, we're obviously playing a major chord, so you know what that looks like. But the same principle as far as the frets is concerned applies. Get your fingers as close as you possibly can to the ends of each fret. Nothing's overhanging, but it is really close. Now, let's see what that sounds like. Okay, so far so good. The next thing that you want to take care of is making sure that all of your finger knuckles are bent. See my middle finger? This finger knuckle is bent here. In fact, all of my fingers are. It's too easy to let this finger go straight, and suddenly your hand is under excruciating tension. You can feel it tense up immediately, and that's going to hurt really quickly. Let it go. So make sure that all of your knuckles are bent right up to the fret. Pull against the guitar. It's incredibly easy to play the fret, to play the chord. Okay, so we've just played the chord, that's great. Let's have a little bit more of a review of what's going on with the thumb. So, I'm obviously concentrating on making sure everything's absolutely spot on. Now, when I played that chord, my thumb is in between, there we go, the index finger and the middle finger. It's basically wherever the hell it wants to be. So once you've got your chord positioned, wiggle your thumb and just let it flop onto the fretboard, and wherever it lands, that's the right place. Don't become obsessed with having it behind the index finger or underneath a particular finger. It's much more important that it be happy and relaxed and just sitting wherever it wants to. Like I say, it's only playing a support role, so it's not critical. The most important thing is that it's not tense. So let's have a review of the arm position. It's absolutely gun barrel straight. There you go. So the hand into the arm is dead straight. The fingers are all coming up. There's no tension. As soon as I twist anything in my hand, then the muscles on the outside are under tension. There's horrible tension over here. There's all sorts of things going mangled and nasty and twisted and wrong. So it's all about keeping everything as straight and smooth and relaxed as possible. And as you're playing the chord, concentrate on making your whole arm be relaxed. Don't ever let it tense up, because the moment it starts to tense up, it's going to spiral and you'll put more and more effort into playing the chord. Now, I've gone down to G here. Talking about the amount of effort that you put in to play a chord, it should be the minimum amount required to play the chord, because if you press too hard, you're actually going to increase not only is it going to hurt, but you're going to increase the tension on all of the strings and actually cause a little bit of vibrato. So don't, you know, it's very subtle, but if you, there's just a tiny little bit of vibrato there that you just don't need. You get these horrible kind of grooves in your finger because you're pressing too hard, and the whole thing goes horribly wrong. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit the like button. Really helps me out with YouTube stuff. And check out my Patreon details or the YouTube channel membership scheme if you like. Thanks very much. I'll see you next time.